Welcome to Sobersmash. Get to the core issues with King Scott and Dr. Joe and get Sober Smashed.
From the highs and the lows to Darryl Strawberry Ministries, we're here to deliver a message of hope.
Left center field.
And now live from Boca Raton, Florida, with King Scott and Dr. Joe, it's
Sober Smash.
On his shoulder, you don't want to shake the left shoulder. You guys are always kidding with me. I got it.
Okay, welcome to Sober Smash. I hope everybody's doing great out there today. Welcome from sunny Florida. We have a great show planned today. We have a special guest in the studio, Darryl Strawberry, and our topic today is, for everyone out there, is hope. Everyone needs hope, and everyone needs to be inspired by someone and something in life to give you that extra kick to get restarted. How do you feel about that, Dr. Joe?
I feel it's a very important topic. Darryl Strawberry, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Darryl.
I grew up in New York, Long Island, born in Manhattan. What can I say?
Manhattan, huh?
Followed you my life. East 85th Street, 2nd Avenue. Then I moved out to Long Island, Met territory, and just followed you my whole career. More exciting is what's going on today in your life, and that's what we want to talk about here today, topic of hope.
Yes, it's a great topic, to really talk about hope because, we look at the generation today and the people that are struggling so much in addiction. There's no hope there. I see so many of them come through the door of my treatment center and come out the door and come back in the door. And I asked them, really, what is going on? What is really happening? And they just say, they talk about the fact that they have no hope at this point. Yes. They've been using for so long. The heroin addiction has got them like a slave, and there's no hope. Their life don't matter. And they need to know that their life do matter. They need to know that people care. When I say that because I sit here and I think about Will, who was my sponsor, who cared about me when I couldn't care about myself. And I think that's what we got to get back to with the younger people. People could just keep saying, well, they don't want it. It's not that they don't want it. It's that they need hope. They need somebody else who can encourage them, who can help them, who can walk with them, and really give them some real insight that, their life can be changed. And that's the hope that we try to deliver to people today, that their life can change and can change forever.
Darryl, what do you see the change, the generation today than, let's say, 20 years ago, regarding, let's say, even hope? They're not inspired like they were 20 years ago, or 30 years ago when we were kids. And, you always had somebody to look up to and, know that there was a better life out there, and you did have that hope. What do you think the difference is now, and they're lacking this?
Well, I think what they're lacking is non-communication. Kids today don't communicate. I think they communicate social media, they text. I think social media and texting has really taken away from verbal communication. They don't talk to each other. You can have kids in a room and they rather text each other instead of going over and having a conversation, and that's the way they communicate. So I think that's a big challenge for us to deal with them and learn to deal with them. But I think the real hope comes by dealing with them and listening to them. Since they not like we were 20 years ago, we would have a conversation and we'd talk. I think what you have to do is really sit down and really allow them to talk and listen to where they're coming from. The kids today are coming from a different place than we were 20 years ago. They like I said, they don't really communicate with each other unless they're texting. And it's very difficult to be able to hold up a conversation with them, because when you hold a conversation with them, they just look at you. They're like, okay, and it's like they're not really there. And I think that's a major problem with our generation today.
Yeah, and you feel like you're not getting them because you're talking to them, they're listening and looking at you. You know, I read a recent survey that said young people today would rather text than talk on the phone.
I truly believe that.
So that's where we are. It's a communication-less society. Even though they're communicating, there's no human interaction.
Right. I think that's what a lot of them are missing. And you know, I think when you see them, they so isolated because they really don't know what to say. They don't know what to talk about. They actually don't know how to engage in a conversation. But I think the struggle is deep. It's deep inside of them. This generation, I think, what has happened is they have blocked themselves away from the reality of who they really are. And what has happened is the brokenness inside of them is real. You know, and I think we got to get back to the place of dealing with the brokenness that's inside of a person and helping them heal. I think most of them have been scarred in some kind of way. The issues are real, they're deep, you know, and now the drugs have come into their life, and the issues are deeper when the drugs come in their life because all it does is suppress it and push it down. You know, it doesn't allow it to come up. It doesn't allow me to talk about how I really feel, and we got to get back to helping them talking about how they feel.
You mentioned that when they come, you've seen these kids come in and out of your treatment center back and forth, and they go back out there in society, and you see them again. What do you think they're lacking when they're going back out? Is there just no inspiration, or they're just lost at that time? Or
well, I think they're not educated enough about addiction. I think they think, well, I can use it a different way.
Right.
I want to try a different way. And I think a lot of them. What happens to a lot of them? I think they go back to. Some of them go back to the normal drug that they use, but some of them want to try something different. And I think, you know, that's a major problem for them. I think some of them go to the halfway houses, and I think they really don't get a program. You know,
right.
I try to teach them. I try to tell them in the treatment center. I said the literature is real. It tells you. The Narcotics Anonymous book tells you where you're going to end. Jail's institution death. I tell them, I say, it's real. I said, I've been to jail. I've been in the institution. I just haven't died. You know, and I said, what this book is talking about, and when you start reading this book, I say, you will be able to identify yourself in this book. If you can just picture yourself as you read it, this is me. This is the problem that lies in me. And this is how I'm able to get well if I can come to a place of understanding the literature. I think too many of them don't understand the literature. They just like, well, I've done that. No, you haven't. If you've done it, you will surrender. Because then you'll realize that, you know, you'll realize that you can get well by surrendering. You won't get well any other way. And I think they try so many other ways. They try easier, softer way. It doesn't work for them.
How do you try to prevent that when they're in your treatment center before they discharge to make sure that doesn't happen?
I constantly go over it with them because I go there and I do group, and you know, I pull some to the side that are leaving, and I tell them, what you've learned here, you got all the information. Now it's up to you to use that toolbox. You know, if you don't pull out the tools, I say, because I tell them, you're going to have to pull out the tools when something goes wrong. And you can't pick up, you know, because if you pick up, it's over. I said the game is over if you pick up. But I said if you use the toolbox that you have. And a lot of them, when they come back, I say, what happened? They said, just like you said, I didn't use the tools.
That's right. No one's going to do it for you.
No one can do it for you.
And that's what recovery is all about. You need to do it yourself.
Well, you need to step up. You need to get into action. You know, too many of the kids today are not in action.
Right.
You know, they more laid back. Oh, well, take care of me.
Right.
You know,
right.
It's like fix me. You know, it's like it doesn't work like that. You know, they don't realize that they got to participate. You got to get in there. You got to do some work. I tell them all the time. It's just like, say for instance, I told him I said I had cancer twice. I said what happened is the doctor had to cut me open to go in there, and he had to go in there and pull the cancer out. Right. I said it's the same thing with addiction and the problem and the issues that you have. You have to cut on yourself and cut yourself open, and you got to go in there. You got to start pulling out your issues, the things you don't like about yourself, the things that happen, things you've done to others. You got to go in there and start dealing with those things before you're able to get well.
Beautiful. Here with Darryl Strawberry, Sobersmash Hour. Darryl, you've had a number of pivotal times in your life. Can you share with us a couple of important ones that you feel started moving your life in a different direction?
Well, it's different people, you know, that comes into your life. Like Will, he sits here, he came into my life, and it was a big turning point. You know, he never pressured me. He loved me right where I was at. Yes. That's the greatest thing I can say about people that really live recovery. Like, you know, Will's 26 years clean, so he's lived a life, you know, according to the principles. And the thing about it is he loved the people that he worked with according to the principles. You know, he don't hammer them. If you fall, he doesn't say, well, you're not going to make it, you know, and that's the thing that I think happens in people's lives. You know, I wasn't clean at the time, but he was there. You know, he was always there. You know, he was like, you know, he never turned his back on me. He said, oh, well, you're not going to make it. He goes, no, you're going to have one hell of a story one day. It's just the way it is. I mean, you're not finished. And he says, not until you finish, you can't have a story. So that's what really happens to people, and that's what people have to understand. We have to be able to love a person right where they're at, because we don't know their scars. We can assume that we know what they've been through, but we don't really know what they've really been through in their life, and the problems that they had that keeps them going back, doing the same thing, looking for a different result. So I would say, you know, having persons like Will in my life and my wife coming in my life, you know, was a big plus, you know, of helping me understand that, you know, my life matters, you know, and I think that's what the message is today for people. You know, it's hope. You know, your life matters. You know, you're not a mistake. We've made mistakes, all of us. Yes. You know, but you're not a mistake.
Yeah, beautiful. I do want to give a warm welcome to Will. Thank you for coming here today, and obviously you've been a big part of Darryl's life. Anything you want to share with us?
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Number one, I just want to say that this is my hero here. The thing with Darryl, man, is that I kind of gave him the program, and he reintroduced me to God.
How about that?
You know, and our connection based on that in spirit. You know, the theme here and the topic is hope. And often when I speak with the clients, I often use the acronym of hold on, pain ends. You know, but you just got to hold on. You can't let go. You know what I mean? So the hope comes, and it's inspiring to be around him and Johnny here, because these guys, he initiated something in me that nobody's seen in me. And that was, okay, well, you got a story, you everything and anything in NA. Don't mean to break the anonymity, but yeah, that's where I go. But he told me that I needed to get right with God. And I didn't have God,
okay,
you know. And he also said to me, go back to school, man, and get educated and learn some stuff.
How about that?
So I went back to school. I graduated cum laude and magna cum laude.
Congratulations.
You go with that?
Good deal.
Okay. And it gets better than that. I'll be graduating August 14th with my master's degree in clinical mental health counseling.
All right.
How about that? That's awesome.
And I owe all that to God. You know, I don't take any credit for that. And you guys that continue to focus on what's going on in our communities, man. You know, these two guys here are like really in the trenches and helping winning our kids back. You know, I read some statistic the other day. They should have never let me go back to school. I read some statistic the other day, and there was something like 28 kids that died, I think, in Ohio or something last month. 28 kids under the age of 21 years old.
Yes.
And so there is everybody says it's an epidemic. It's really a pandemic.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I'm just truly grateful to just be alive and maybe be a power of example or example of the power that there's some people that really truly care, you know?
Yeah.
Will, you've been in the program over 25 years, 26 years,
26
you mentioned, which
years.
is fantastic. How do you see, like, today's modern day treatment program? What are we lacking to improve the success rate in recovery right now?
Well, I'm kind of on the same thing with Darryl with that, with a lot more of hands-on. And when I say hands-on, I'm talking more listening than treatment, part of the treatment plan. I like the music. I like the idea of the music. And you just got to meet them where they're at. Okay? I can't stand hip-hop. But when I'm talking to the kids, we're talking hip hop.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just meeting them where they're at, and the most important thing, and he shared about it this morning, is just listening. 9 times they don't want you to tell them.
Well, everyone's an individual, so
Exactly.
everyone has special
Comprehensive.
needs, and you know we tend to adapt to everyone's needs to make it work.
Every treatment plan that I do is comprehensive and individualized.
Right.
But the common thread, again, with the kids is nobody listens to them.
Right.
You know, and that's all, you know, they want. And you can scare them half to death, or you can scare them to death, and I can guarantee you most of the time that doesn't work. It never worked with me.
Well, a lot of times they don't listen, like Darryl said, because they're not speaking.
Exactly.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
They have to learn how to communicate today and stop staying in a little bubble of electronics and get out there and be real.
Yeah, well, but I think if you allow them to talk and just listen and not talk back, they'll open up and tell you what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Very
and
good.
I think we don't do enough of that. I think we want to say, well, this works for you, this works for you.
Right.
But I think we need to get to the place where you sit down in front of them and just listen. Do not say anything and just listen.
Yes.
And you'll be amazed at what they will talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You know, they will tell you everything about them and why this happened, and they understand that they understand the parents and people don't listen to them. They understand people are always trying to tell them what to do.
Right. Sure.
Hey, Darryl, my wife says a lot to me, though. I get that a lot.
Well, that's a good thing, because if your wife's telling you need to listen, you need to listen.
Yeah, you better listen.
Yeah. But it's so true that young people, when they come into treatment, first of all, look at the world. Look at the shape of the world. And they come in here, and we're going to act like we have the answers. And they're like, "What? This is your answer? The world is what you created? This is your answer? I don't want any of that." You know, and you're so right, Dal, that listening to them. And you know what? It takes a while for them to start talking. Because they're checking you out. They're seeing if the place is safe, if they're going to be respected. So sometimes you got to have some patience to wait. I know you guys probably know, sometimes in the 3rd or 4th week of treatment, all of a sudden we see this metamorphosis. And who is this client? All of a sudden they're talking, sharing. They're grabbing a mic. We had 2 older people in treatment a couple of months ago. They don't say nothing in group. One from Kentucky, one from Ohio. One Friday, they're up there singing "I Can't Get No Satisfaction" by the Rolling Stones. Right. Both of them together. The whole place was looking, look at this. And that's because we waited, we loved them, we had them here, and they said, "I'm ready."
And it's about learning how to have fun and being sober, doing it.
Yeah, speaking about Darryl, can you speak about having fun and sobriety, the importance of it, and maybe in your life, how you enjoy your life to make it rewarding and fulfilling and have something to look forward to?
Well, life is fun. Life is fun once you get to the place of keeping it simple. You know, I think a lot of times we think, you know, doing stuff and it's going to make me happy. You know, when we were out there running and using and acting crazy, we were just crazy. Yeah. You know, and now when you just being you and just being normal, you know, that's fun. The fun things in life is when you do get in sobriety is you have a gift where you can go back and help someone else. Yes. See, not enough people go back and help someone else. They sit and they think it's really all about them. You know, they go in the rooms and talk about their problems all the time. Yeah. Get off your butt and go help somebody else, and your problems will work out for the best. But you got to get up and see. That's the thing about it. We don't get outside of ourselves. Yes. You know, and we're not that important. Yes. You know, we've been saved to be here, to be different, to make a difference. So go help the next guy, the next lady, and take them, those that are struggling. If you're really sincere about this, you know, if you really want to keep this, you know, what you got to go back out there and give it back away to somebody else. And I think that's where a lot of them miss it. You know, they want to complain about, you know, the fact of where they're at. You know, if you get up and do something different, you'll realize it's a joy in helping somebody else. And that little stuff I was worried about doesn't even compare to what they're going through right now.
No
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. The reward of helping another is unparalleled, right? Well, I want to ask you a controversial question, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, I'm controversial.
Okay, good. Well, I've been in the field 32 years here in South Florida, and been a lot of places, done a lot of things, a lot of great friends in NA and AA. There's a phenomenon down here, I don't know so much anymore, but in the 80s and 90s, people in NA would get 5-10 years sober and they start going to AA. Well, there's more recovery, or they're more serious. I'm like, why are you abandoning NA, who got you sober, and now you're going to AA? Do you know about that phenomenon? Could you speak on that?
I'm taking the fifth, Senator.
Oh, okay.
No,
okay.
but seriously,
Yes.
I think what happens is social acceptability comes into play, and of course there's a stigma, NA more so because it's Narcotics Anonymous and even AA, alcohol.
Yeah.
So I think what happens is a lot of people from my time or my era, there's a lot of kids in NA.
Yes.
And so the talk on the street was there is no recovery here. Let us go over here to AA, where most of the people in AA were more mature, older. You know what I mean? It was a little bit softer and quieter.
Right.
So I don't know. Just speaking for myself, I see it kind of differently now today because I don't go to meetings 24/7 like I used to.
Right.
I do continue to participate. I respect AA. I was considered a purist when I got here. If you said alcohol in the meeting, I was the first one to jump up with a Tommy gun saying, you're in violation of the traditions. I was one of those guys. But what I know today is that I pay homage to AA. They've given us direction through their steps. And I tell my clients, it doesn't matter where you go, just go somewhere, fit in, and do what you do there.
Right.
So, yeah, I was around when all that madness was going on, and you want to hear something really funny. Well, it's not funny, it's tragic.
Yeah.
Most of the guys that took up those banners are all dead now,
Yeah.
and most of them went back out. So
Yes.
if the focus is not on why we're here, then, all the politics that go
Right.
on, I really never got caught up in that to the point where it might kill somebody. I just want to tell this one story.
Sure.
I had this little girl that came in. She was 17, and she came in and she had the earrings and the whole thing going on, nose thing, and I was just curious, and I said, why are you all that, and she said, well, self-expression. As soon as she said that, I just sat back and I listened to her, and she told me everything about her. Then I looked real close, and her eyes were yellow and her skin was yellow. And she was in the 4th stage of liver cancer.
Wow.
18 years old. And all the clients was like, oh, don't let her get close to me. It might catch me. And she stood there, man. This is why I do what I do. And she begged myself to talk to the staff to get her to stay there. 18 years old.
Wow.
To make a long story longer, they gave her 6 months to live. She came out of all of this stuff. That was 3 years ago. And she calls me at least twice a month. And she's taking meetings in the schools and the whole thing. She never gave up, man.
Beautiful.
Never gave up.
Beautiful.
So we don't shoot our wounded here, man. And that's always been my mantra. If somebody goes out and you open your arms, you welcome them back.
Right.
Could be you.
Darryl, what would you tell the listener that's out there, let's say a young 18-year-old kid battling with alcohol and drugs, and his parents kind of know what he's doing, but they're not sure what's going on with him. He's afraid to make the next step. What would you say to that kid?
I would encourage him, to look at the long term of his life, not the short term. Because he's in the short term, 18 years old. There's a beginning, there's a middle part, and there's an end. And I would tell him that he's just at the beginning. So the problem can be resolved if he takes care of the problem right now. And then he has the middle and he has the end part of his life where he can have the joy and the success of who he really is. I tell him the longer you wait, the more difficult it gets. And if you wait too long, you find yourself in your mid-30s and you're still struggling. Now you're going back and forth. You're on that boat, or you're on that fence constantly. And then you hit the 40s, and then you're still struggling. But I try to educate the kids more than anything, not only just about drinking and using, drugging, and them out, shooting heroin. I try to educate them about the physical part of what's going to happen. there's going to be some physical damage to your body. You know, we don't never think about that. We don't think about what we're going to catch or what's going to happen. We don't look at that. And
We think about the moment.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it.
We're thinking about the moment. You know, we're 18 years old, 19 years old. I mean, you know, and especially those that are using needles and stuff, they're not thinking about, you know, the Hep C and all the things that they can get. And when I do group, I try to explain that to them. I say, you're young enough, you're healthy enough. You need to understand, if you don't have nothing, it's a miracle. You know, the miracle lies in you right now is to make the change right now. Because I says, as you continue to go, you know, something physically is going to start happening to your body. I said it happens to all of us. And we'll be telling you a story later on in our life that you know, I have this, you know, because of this, because I wouldn't listen. No one would tell me. It's not just the drugs that's going to damage you. It's also the physical part. I try to explain that to them too. So if you're that young, you know, and you got a chance, man, get into treatment, get help, deal with your issues, deal with your wounds. You know, deal with the scars, deal with the whatever, the rejection, whatever has happened, deal with whatever has taken place in your life, deal with it now and allow yourself to get healed. I think most young people don't think they can be healed, but they have so much to offer if you get healed now and you live the middle part of your life and the last part of your life in recovery.
Beautiful.
I think that's great advice.
Beautiful. We all have relapse triggers. We all have things that trigger us. For the listeners out there that struggle with that, Darryl and Will, what do you do with triggers as they come up? Memories, feelings, smells, sights, sounds. What do you guys do when you experience a trigger that you know used to be one of the things that brought you back out?
Well, for me, I try to do what was always said. People, places, and things. You know, I tried to change all that. And what I mean by that, I changed my behavior. Because, see, I don't have a trigger if I'm not in behavior. You know,
Good point.
Yeah.
The only trigger happens when a person, you know, for me, if I'm getting into some kind of behavior, I know that that's not right. You know, and I think a lot of times that's what happens to people in recovery. They get in a place and they know they get into the behavior, you know, and they start acting out. And then before you're acting out, you're on the other side of the street somewhere. I no longer take myself on the other side of the street because I like this side of the street. You know, I like this side of the street. I watched Will for so long be on this side of the street and live and just, you know, have such a joy and keep a simple life. I was like, you know, now that's what I want. You know, I saw a lot of other guys who were on the same road, you know, recovery, and, you know, but they was on the other side of the street and they want to play with a lot of other things. I said, well, now that's what I don't want. You know, so you know, when you learn that your behavior, if your behavior changed, you know, for me, I needed to change my behavior. And once I realized that, I changed my behavior. I never had those desires and thoughts to go back to doing those things I used to do.
Yeah, beautiful. Will, anything to add on that?
Same thing. I mean, I've been saying this for years. I think I should have been part of writing the DSM-5. But anyway, I've been saying this for years. For me, anyway, it's always been about the thinking. You know, the way I think dictates the way I feel. Beautiful. The way I feel dictates the way I act and I react. I believe that beyond a shadow of a doubt. And listen, this is an honest program, right? I woke up this morning, looked in the mirror, and seen Denzel Washington. And I believe that about myself. I love myself, not an ego, but I love myself. And I tell myself that every day. Yeah. You signed a contract with God to chop the wood, carry the water, trust Him, and help others. So none of that stuff floods my mind no more. I mean, mini skirts on up to here and shit, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I love that one.
We all know what you mean.
Well, I see a little Denzel there. I see a little Denzel there.
And Johnny's my manager. He's in recovery, too.
He's in recovery.
Welcome, Johnny. Pleased to have you on the show today.
He's from the Bronx.
All right.
Bronx.
All right.
Boom bop.
What is this, the Will and Darryl show?
Please, John.
You put me on the pay no mind list.
What would you like to share with the audience that you think
Just
might
to
be
say,
helpful?
These guys, what they're talking about, they live it. And Darryl was a big help in my sobriety. You know, I'm 9 years sober now.
Okay, congratulations.
Congratulations.
I'll be 9 years in August.
Okay.
But I met him about 6 years ago, and I was at a point in my life struggling. You know, I went through the steps, but I didn't work the steps. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so
sure.
you could go through those 12 steps, and I did the third, fourth step, fifth step, and I did it all, but I didn't get what Darryl was talking about as far as getting the gook out, you know, and really getting down deep. I met him at a party, coincidentally, one night, and he led me to God, led me to Jesus Christ, which was a spiritual component that I needed. But alongside, when I start reading the big book, I added that extra spiritual component that I believe, which I call my higher power, is Jesus, God. That really transformed my life to where I am now. So he was a big help, and Will G was the original guy how I met Darryl, because I did a movie on drug addiction called Modern Day Miracles.
Okay.
And I wanted Darryl to be in the movie, so somehow, some way, I got somebody to get to Will G, and Will G got to Darryl. But Darryl didn't do the movie, but God was working in my life and eventually had me lead up and meet him. And now I'm traveling with him, doing ministry and helping people in recovery.
That's
Beautiful,
great.
beautiful.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Darryl, could you talk a little about your ministry? Is it in Missouri or what?
No, we live in Orlando now.
Okay.
So, we were in Missouri.
You still have your ministry active or what?
We do.
Okay.
I'm very active in ministry. I just spoke today at Broward County Substance Abuse Behavioral Health event today. I do a few of those here and there, but mostly I'm probably somewhere preaching in the church. This weekend I'm down here. I got to do a couple gathering for the men's gathering.
It's called the Gathering.
Gathering for men's. Yeah, that's why I'm here. That's why
the organization's called the Gathering, and it's going to be Thursday, Friday in West Palm and Boca.
Yeah.
Two separate.
Gathering in West Palm and Boca this Thursday
the
and
men's
Friday.
ministry is called the Gathering.
The Gathering.
So it's
Okay.
an 8 a.m. breakfast that they will have in this.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm down here in South Florida area.
Okay.
And I'm usually traveling probably 80 times out of the year. Very busy schedule, but we do a lot of work. Our ministry is very powerful with my wife and myself, and our church. We've had our own ministry for quite a while now, and we help people. We help people to. I think what we're looking at is a lot of people in addiction. We look at lawlessness brings about brokenness and brings about broken people.
Okay.
And we try to get people to understand that it's not the drugs and alcohol, it's the brokenness inside of you that needs to get well.
Yeah, very good.
We need to get them
put.
back to a place where they get well inside and get whole inside, so they can have a victorious life and be able to live and not have to feel the pain of rejection and all these things, because we all got something. Something has happened to us. And I think we missed that mark. They talk about having a spiritual awakening in our life that changes everything. A spiritual awakening in our life changes everything on the inside, not what we look like on the outside. Because we think we all that on the outside, but the insides are toxic and polluted. When we don't have the awakening, and I think that's what Will talks about and John talks about. We've had that in our life, and that's what our ministry is about: helping people to understand that you can have this too. And guess what? It's free.
Yes.
It's free to have a spiritual awakening. Than searching for everything else to what's wrong with me.
Right, and it was free all along, right? I love what both of you said about. See, we at Treatment Partners America, we focus on something called core issues. What's the pain? What's the hurt? What's the rejection you've been feeling all your life that led you here? This addiction didn't start when you picked up something. We all know about that dynamic where addicts are born, and through their experience in childhood, adolescence, they pick up traumas, anxiety, rejection, parents not there. There's where the hurt is, the original pain, the original sin, and this is what you guys are talking about, and that's right in line with what we do here. We don't do the same old treatment. We say, let's get down to the core. What is it? And sometimes they're ready to look at it, sometimes they're not. But we're here.
Because it's there. It's there. And that's what I do in the treatment center, at my treatment center when I go there. When I go there and do group, I get real with them. I make them deal with the real issues. I talk about the fact how my father beat me and laid me across the bed and said I was nothing.
There you go.
Made me take off my shirt and had an extension cord and beat me and left webs on me.
There you go.
Real stuff. I said that was real pain.
Yes.
I said that is real.
Yes.
And I said some of you need to go deep in here and something's happened to you. And I do a lot of the women's groups because they come unfolded, finally telling me I was molested, I was raped, you know, and I said, now that's where your addiction problem is.
Yes.
That's where you are using. This is the reason why you're using, because you never deal with this real stuff here.
That's it, and that's the core issues.
That's it.
That's what all started.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Well, we want to thank you all for being here today.
Yes.
This was a great time, and I think it was very informative for the listeners out there. And
Yes. John, Will, Darryl, thank you guys so much for spending some time in our studio here.
We really appreciate it.
You know, people out there being helped, you know, just by listening to this. This will be available for people to hear. So once again, great honor, you guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys.
For more information on Sobersmash or to be a guest on our show, call us at 561-218-4342.